Logan Lucky is the newest film to be directed by Steven Soderbergh and is his most recent heist film. It is directed, as I just said, by Steven Soderbergh and stars the likes of Channing Tatum, Adam Driver, Daniel Craig, Sebastian Stan, Seth MacFarlane, Katie Holmes. It's a very big cast. So, I was excited for this movie. The trailers looked very interesting, and the reviews had been very solid for it, which I did not really expect. They'd been very good. And I thought this movie, I thought it was good. I thought it was well made, for the most part. It wasn't great. It was nowhere near bad. It's a good movie. It's not even close to Soderbergh's best, but it's not even close to his worst. Because he's made some really great movies. He's made some of the best heist movies. Ocean's 11, primarily, is, in my eyes, one of the best heist movies ever made. And it is one of the best remakes ever made. It is a brilliantly made film. I'm probably going to be comparing this movie to Ocean's 11 a lot, and a lot of people are going to say that's unfair. That's not true, because the similarities in this movie to Ocean's 11 are very striking, not in terms of style, more so in terms of structure and how the movie's laid out. But he's a really talented director. I don't know what happened with Ocean's 12, but you see movies from him. Even Magic Mike is very well done. Side Effects is very well done. Like I said, Ocean's 11 is very well done. Behind the Candelabra, I believe he did that. That was an HBO movie. That was very well done. He's a great director. And this movie really shows off his directing skills more than anything. Because while I don't think the entirety of this movie is that good, I think consistently his direction is solid, because he focuses very stylistically on this movie. He's going for a very specific and distinct style with this movie. The way it's shot, the way it's edited, the way it's paced, the way it's cut together. It's all very consistent in terms of a style. It's kind of funny, actually. It's a comedic style in a way, and I like the way they did that the whole way through. That's the one thing that I found to be consistent the whole way through, was Steven Soderbergh's direction. I thought he did a very good job. I thought the cinematography in that regard was good. I thought the editing in that regard was good. I think all of the acting in that regard even was good, because you see, like, the entire time Channing Tatum and Adam Driver just have these nothing looks on their faces, and then you have Daniel Craig, who's sort of got this uppity sense about him, and I don't know, it's hard to describe if you don't see it, and I think that's a good reason to get out and see this movie, because like I said, it shows off his directing style like that. He is a very stylistic director when you think about it. When you go through and you watch his movies, they're all very different because of their style. Like Ocean's 11 is this very... He makes it feel like Vegas. The way it's edited, the way it's shot, the music behind it. It all feels very Las Vegas. Side Effects always feels very grim and always feels very dark, and you always kind of feel depressed because that's how you're supposed to feel. Behind the Candelabra, it's always lit in a certain way. The music is a certain way. He's very good at doing things like that, and he kind of brings that talent to this movie, and that's one of the things that works really well about it. What I would say this movie's primary strong suit is the entire second half. The second half of this movie is where things really pick up and really get interesting and fun to watch. This movie is, in a way, a comedy. I don't know, it's not always a comedy, but there are really funny moments, there are really funny bits and sequences and lines of dialogue that really land and really work. A lot of them come from Daniel Craig, and I'll get into him in a little bit, but no, when you get into primarily the heist sequence, which comes a little earlier than you think. You would think it's like the ending of the movie. It's not, it's towards the middle. It's very fun, and it's very interesting to watch, because it's sort of more upbeat, and it's funnier, and it's more thrilling. And you get a lot of those things that you kind of wanted the entire movie to be when you hit that second half mark, and it does carry on through the rest of the movie when Hilary Swank comes in. She doesn't come in for a while, but yeah, you get this really interesting dynamic when you hit the second half. And I guess I'll talk about Daniel Craig now. He's great, and he's the one everyone's talking about in terms of performances. Pretty much all the performances were good, but I mean, Daniel Craig is the obvious standout, and this is a huge movie for him, because he's finally showing people in a wider regard that he doesn't need James Bond to be successful. He showed it with the girl with the dragon tattoo, but like, never really did it again. Now he did it in this, and for, you know, I know a little bit more about his older works. I love Layer Cake. I think he's great in that movie, but not very many people have seen that. This is getting more and more widespread attention, I guess. Same with Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, but, you know, people see this trailer and they see him in the fucking back of the car.
I'm about to get naked, so no bacon. I said no bacon.
People go, that's James Bond, and he's great in this movie. He's really funny. He brings a sense of gravitas and charisma to kind of a widespread array of characters that are supposed to be sort of deadpan. He does a really good job standing out and being sort of this character on the side, because he is a supporting character. He's a strong supporting character. Channing Tatum is the lead of this movie. But he really does a great job whenever he's on screen being the center of attention. The only performance I had a problem with at all was Channing Tatum because of his accent. A lot of times, and this very well could be me, I couldn't understand what he was saying. He had this very thick accent, and it was kind of irritating because his dialogue at times was the most important, because he was the one that would be describing the plan and going over what was going to be happening, and even towards the end of the movie sort of like revealing what happened, blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't understand half the shit he was saying, so I found myself lost a lot of the time. Mostly, it was able to bounce me back in, but like less and less so as the movie went on. Channing Tatum, I'm mixed on as a performer as a whole. I think he works at his best when he is just playing Channing Tatum. You know, he's great in the Jump Street movies because he's just playing himself. He's good in Foxcatcher because he rarely opens his mouth. I even like him in Hail Caesar, and I don't like that movie very much, but I think the Coen brothers just kind of told him to have fun. You know, I like him in those kinds of roles, but he just didn't really work in this movie for me. I don't know. I always kind of felt this. I had this weird feeling every time he was talking, and I will say when he's on screen more so with Adam Driver, it's funnier. Like that shot in the trailer where Daniel Craig goes, "You two must be as simple-minded as everyone says," and they both go, "People say that." That was funny, and I liked when they did that, and I like when the two of them sort of have that connection. They have pretty good chemistry on screen together, but I don't know, on his own, Channing Tatum was a little shaky for me. Other than that, everyone does a pretty good job. They know Katie Holmes isn't a good actress, so she's not on screen very much. And then fucking Hilary Swank is just kind of this deadpan cop, and I think she was sort of just having fun with it too. She was just very serious and very, very down-packed. But she's supposed to kind of stick out like a sore thumb. I thought that worked really well. Basically, everything works when you get into the second half of this movie. The problem with this movie is the entire first half. It's why it's not as good as Ocean's 11 or some of the other really good heist movies out there. It's the first half. The pacing is very, very slow. And that's usually fine with me if it's intriguing and interesting and you're holding my attention. I found myself just kind of like shifting in my seat a lot like this, and just kind of, you know, I would get, my phone would buzz, and I very rarely check my phone, but like I'd find myself sort of like looking down, and I don't know, I was just sort of losing interest progressively throughout the first half, a lot of times because of that pacing. But then I was sort of going, okay, you know what, it's probably just setting a lot of stuff up that's going to come into play in the second half. Not really. There's a lot of muddled shit in the first half of the movie. There's a lot of filler that I was just sort of going, I don't really like this. Catherine Waterston is in this movie, and she's really not necessary. She's in 2 scenes, one in the first half and one towards the end, and I get why they put it there, but it felt very out of place. A lot of stuff in the first half just feels very out of place. It feels very underdeveloped. Aside from Adam Driver and Channing Tatum, you don't get much character from the other people. Daniel Craig is just sort of there to be the comedic relief and the funny guy and the charismatic guy, and he does his job with that. But you've got, like, Seth MacFarlane, who's kind of there for no reason, and you've got Sebastian Stan, even in the second half, who's there for kind of no reason, and I don't know, the first half for me felt very convoluted and very just like, I don't know why a lot of this stuff is here, but the second half really does make this movie worth it, and I truly believe that. I think this movie is worth the price of admission for the second half, because it's very entertaining, it's very enjoyable, and the first half, it's not horrid, it's just kind of hard to get through. It's just sort of that blockade between you and the second half of this movie. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's just not that interesting. It's not nearly as interesting as the rest of this movie, and that's really disappointing because I wanted to see a consistently really good movie, but the first half was always sort of there dragging it down for me. But when I hit that second half of the movie, I was able to kind of forget about that and then let myself enjoy this thing. So, as a whole, I would recommend this movie. I say it's worth it. I say it's worth it to check it out. One of my friends did doze off, I will say that, at the first half, but I think you'll be able to get through it. Most critics have enjoyed this. It very well could just be a problem that I have, and I have alone. It was just, I don't know, an issue that sprung up with me, I guess. I don't know. But I liked everything else about this movie. I think everything else really works. Soderbergh did a great job stylistically. The strong majority of the performances are good. It's funny. It's not action-packed, but it's still kind of intense. I like this movie. I enjoyed it a lot, and I recommend getting out to the theater to see it. So, what did you guys think? Have you seen Logan Lucky? Have you not seen Logan Lucky? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all next time.